Press the bell icon on the YouTube app to never miss a video from News Laundry.
Welcome to News Laundry Chhota Hafta. For the full episode, subscribe because it is behind the paywall and only subscribers get access to uncut, complete content. News Laundry Hafta is our weekly wrap of all that made the news, all that didn't, and all that should have and all that shouldn't have. We agree, we disagree, we critique, and occasionally we beat each other up. But it's all good fun. Subscribe.
This is a News Laundry podcast and you're listening to NL Hafta.
Hello and welcome to News Laundry Hafta. Angrez apna lagan aur News Laundry apna hafta kabhi nahi chhodte. We are joined today in the studio by a man who's sneering at me, Hartosh Singh Bal, political editor of Caravan, whose story has made quite a few waves first time.
The reporter is Sagar, very good reporter.
Sagar is this reporter. So I'm sure Hartosh will have lots to say about this and other things, while also giving me a tana or two of us just getting him for free every week and not every week.
Not only that, it's worse this week. I was told I have to subscribe to News Laundry to appear on Hafta.
Oh, really?
I did. I told him.
That is a bit much instead of paying.
You pay
I
us to
told him
kidnap.
you come after you have to take a subscription.
So that was Madhu Trehan at her business-minded best. Our editor-in-chief, also Anand Vardhan, who has been missing on the Hafta for a few weeks. Hi Anand, good to have you back. Manisha Pande, our anchor of Nuisance, and Raman Kirpal, our managing editor.
Hello.
So a whole bunch of things happened this week, but before I tell you that, I would again like to encourage you to subscribe to News Laundry, because when the public pays, the public is served. When advertisers pay, advertisers are served. Do support to keep media independent. So a bunch of things happened this week. Of course, there was the Section 377 being struck down, and same-sex relationships are no longer illegal. That has dominated.
Unnatural sex is no longer. It wasn't just about...
Oh, was it?
if you really look at it, if you look at how it was worded, it would implicate all of us.
Unnatural sex is also sex with animals.
So that, so I think they
that
may have
is not-
separated. Maybe Manisha can tell us a little more about the judgment, because that included oral sex, it included anal sex,
by
it included
which
everything.
they mean anal sex, oral sex and stuff like that.
Oh, okay, fine. So then we have the broadcaster's body, that's the NBSA, asks Republic TV's Arnab Goswami to apologize for misreporting. We'll have some views on this, I'm sure. Then the Myanmar court sentences two Reuters journalists to 7 years in prison. That's actually one of the most tragic cases regarding journalism in a while from this region. I'm sure Manisha will have lots to say on that. Then there is Kanhaiya Kumar likely to contest Lok Sabha polls from Begusarai on a CPM ticket. That should be interesting. I'm sure Anand Vardhan, our native from Bihar, will have lots to say on that. Give us a little view. Although even I've been to Begusarai and I've to share my experiences from there. Then the Tamil Nadu, a student arrested shouting anti-BJP slogans. Not on the flight, but apparently once the flight had landed. So
When they were deboarding.
When they were deboarding, that has caused major consternation as well, with people speaking up for and against, and of course some doing the balancing act. And finally, 99.3% of the demonetized notes have returned. So much for that. And if we have time, I'd just like to discuss. I'd like the panel's view on the New Yorker festival inviting Steve Bannon.
I think that's an important one. We should discuss it because this kind of thing has happened in India with Salman Rushdie and other people.
Although the reasons there were different. Here, of course, it is fear. So, yeah, I don't have a firm view on it. So we will discuss that. Hartosh, your latest Caravan issue has a very fascinating, Godzilla-type cover with Anil Ambani emerging from the ocean, looking down at a submarine.
It's beautifully designed. The colors,
It's a great cover, yes.
The blue, black and
great
white.
Story. It's about Anil Ambani's defense ventures, Rafale being the most prominent. But I think what is forgotten and looking at Anil Ambani is how he's also entered the naval business and how this government has gone out of its way to take a man who can make nothing and get him to start making things for our defense industry. The government will say we had nothing to do with it. The French, he also made a movie for the then French president's wife, etc. But the main point is he's already in the naval side of things. He's proved out to be a failure. His companies are collapsing. To hand over the Rafale deal or make him part of it, I think it suggests that the Modi government is interested in many other things except for the development of the defense industry.
So you'll have all these details in the story, but other than his failure of one of the most spectacular failures was his power project. What was it called? The Reliance Power, which did not get subscribed, and they hadn't even made 1 megawatt of electricity before they were selling shares, and then of course that sank like a stone. You are expecting a 5,000 crore case against you? Anil Ambani had sent it to a few publications who were covering the Rafale deal, right? Are you standing by for that?
No, I don't think he will be stupid enough. But I mean, he's been, by not giving him reason for defamation. But I think the story is pretty solid. Everything has been researched. You can't defame somebody by stating the facts of his business, about his debt, how he has functioned as a manufacturer in various industries, and now in defense, where there has been some precedent already before they start getting involved in the manufacture of Rafale. Well, if he wants to send us a notice for defamation, he's welcome. More the merrier. What's the problem?
All right.
Did the government do anything extraordinary to facilitate him?
Government, Narendra Modi, let's focus on the simple fact that facts is that till Narendra Modi goes and talks to the French president, a day before that, everybody is assuming HAL is going to be producing this. Nobody knows anything about it. Parikar himself doesn't know anything about it. He's making statements to the contrary. Comes out of meetings, suddenly
Modi
there is
comes
a
out of the
change.
meeting.
The claim is that Reliance was brought later. Fact is, the rules were changed just almost a fortnight earlier to allow the offset partner to be announced later. But the actual signing of the deal, and this story actually has that detail, the actual signing of the offset partner happened on the same day. All this happened at the same time. Rules were changed, bent, twisted to ensure it is Anil Ambani who gets this deal. And it seemed to have happened on that particular day with the knowledge of nobody but the Prime Minister who was involved in it.
Manisha, tell us what happened in the Supreme Court and why is it such a big deal?
So it's a big victory for civil rights movements in India. It's really, truly historic. And I'll just give you a brief timeline on what happened before this case. So in 2001, Naz Foundation had petitioned to the Delhi High Court. Naz works with HIV, AIDS and sexual health issues. They filed a petition to decriminalize 377. Delhi High Court says it's a violation of fundamental rights. Of course, then all the religious groups get together and appeal against it. In 2013, Supreme Court overrules Delhi High Court and says that we can't be striking down laws. It's the Parliament's decision. After which, again, there's a curative petition and in 2016. And the important thing is in 2017, the Supreme Court upheld the right to privacy, where it was said that sexual orientation is an essential component of identity. And today, finally, it's been struck down. So I think the right to privacy order played a very important role in what happened today. And it's truly, I mean, it's magical to see what's happening outside the Supreme Court today. So many people have come out, such a long fight for so many families, so many people. It's truly, it's really like, it's great to see.
Although at the risk of sounding like a bit of a killjoy, when I see something very emotional happening, like I've been a part of a very emotional outburst when the whole Lokpal movement was happening. But it's George Sam Ram.
I know, you and AAP, of course.
We were standing. That time there was no AAP, sir. That was only ISC.
Yeah, you created it.
But and I think it's, but unless I was invested in a movement, it would not like give me, or if I identified with something there, it would not give me goose flesh or rongte nahi khade hote. Perfectly regular heterosexual people around are also getting very emotional. I don't understand that. I'm sorry.
That's because you lack empathy,
Oh.
which is a very important quality for a journalist or someone who's heading a journalistic organization. Please.
Very good,
No,
Manisha.
it's really, for me, I mean, it's a civil rights victory. It's not about just gay
No, I think
people
it's
or-
absolutely
yeah.
must thing to do, but from a head space, not from a heart space. Now, let's come to this case of the two journalists who have been arrested. Madhu, you had some views on Suki and her silence on the kind of oppression that many people in Burma continue to suffer, and her activism seems to suddenly have taken a back seat.
I remember talking about when this Aung was released and everyone was praising her and everything. And I remember saying it on Hafta, like, please, all she did was get house arrested. And now she's traveling the world with flowers in her hair, meeting leaders. What has she done? She didn't do anything. Like Nelson Mandela, when he was released from jail, immediately he went into a process of creating that Truth and Reconciliation Committee, which was the most creative way to resolve a hate-filled society where blacks had been tortured and suffered and families broken up and killed.
And so difficult to create governance in that environment.
And then Mandela realizes that this is the time that if he allows that to fester and revenge killings start, and now the whites were out of power, there'd be a problem. So he did something never done before, and really creative thinking, and created a political, emotional process. And I think he understood the importance of emotion in politics and was unafraid to go that way. And I think in India, very often emotion is used as a bad word. Don't be emotional. I think practical is a bad word.
Everyone's crying here, from Modi to Advani to everyone sheds tears.
No, but but emotion is considered, like, practical is a better word. And I think there's nothing worse than being practical and jaded and cynical. And I think that this is the problem with this woman, that she did nothing.
What's the
And she's
context
let
of this?
it's actually gotten worse than it ever was.
So there are two Reuters journalists. They did a report, an excellent report, and we'll link to it and please read it, about the murder of 10 Rohingya men and boys. And that report implicates the army. The thing is that the army has admitted to it, and they've admitted that their officials were part of it. But soon after these guys investigated that story, the police calls them and arrests them under the Official Secrets Act, which is again a colonial heritage. And this was back
They call
when
them for dinner.
Yeah, call them for and they have told the court that these guys planted documents on us. And this is nothing but cracking down on these guys because they exposed the army. And you've had a sham of a trial there. I think what's more worrying is that, and I think this is why Indian journalists should really stop being insular, and we should care about what's happening in Asia, South Asia and other countries, because there is a tendency where governments are using these laws, especially in South Asia, justifying their actions against the press on the tide of a sort of a popular sentiment against the press. So a lot of people did feel there too, you're anti-national, you're exposing our army, and, you're defaming the army when the massacre happened. And on this popular sort of sentiment, you've had a government act completely brazenly unconstitutionally, had a farce of a trial, and these guys, one of them is 32, my age, the other one's 28, that's his first journalism job,
and one of them has got
7
a
years in
daughter,
jail.
I think 3 weeks old or 3 months old, and he hasn't even seen her yet, and he's going to prison. Now we will move on to the Arnab's sorry that he has to say. He has been told to say sorry once before. He did that time.
The only person I remember, has he been? The only person I remember was Rajat Sharma of India TV, who said screw you, and then he became the chairman after some time.
So what is the case now, and why does he have to say sorry? I know that this was when one of the reporters was being harassed. I remember it was of the Jignesh Mewani rally that they were running as flop show, and their reporter by the name of Shivani Gupta was there, and I remember watching this, and there were people around who were very rude to her, and he said, show them, name and shame them, these hyenas, goons, anti-nationals, and वहाँ से कोई टहल रहा था, ना उसका कुछ लेना ना देना, उसका भी फ्रीज करके गोल गोल करके pervert goon hyena बोल दिया उसे.
एक ABP News के भी reporter को दे. Which obviously they had to apologize quickly because ABP News got really angry. Are you showing us our reporter as this lewd, sexist, pervert guy who's just reporting around?
जो है सबके अंडा लगा दो उनके हेड के और बोलो lewd pervert है. He's truly insane. I'm shocked. But yes.
This case is a bit complicated because now Shivani has come out. She tweeted a bunch of stuff yesterday. So what happened was there was a crowd that was heckling her, that was saying, of course at a Jignesh Mewani rally, a lot of people hate Republic. The kind of people who would attend that would hate Republic simply for the kind of smear campaign that they've run on this guy. So she was obviously pointing out, saying ki dekho flop show hai, bilkul khali hai. She was basically pointing at what a big flop show the rally is, and there was a bunch of men who started heckling her, sort of surrounding her. This guy basically also sort of went towards her and said, "Jhoot bol rahi hai, jhoot bol rahi hai." So that then Arnab took and then went into this whole thing that it's sexist, it's whatever, these guys are perverts and all that. And the guy who was there in the crowd, he got angry because he also said that you're calling me anti-national and anti-India goon, and I'm none of that. So the whole thing started with that, but it's a bit, while it's NBSA has asked Arnab to apologize because he obviously went on the other tangent and then, but there is this problem of reporters having to face the brunt for what their anchors do in the studios.
Sure.
I mean, I don't think Shivani deserves to be. No one deserves to be. When a reporter is doing a job on the field, you don't deserve to be heckled or harassed or, a crowd like circling you.
Yeah.
That also has to be addressed.
I will say that
I think that's...
ABP had breaking news. Republic TV ने ABP news से माफी मांगी. जिग्नेश मेवाणी की रैली में कहा था गुंडा. हमारे so they had run this breaking news. But I just like to know what Madhu thinks. And coming to Raman sir, I completely agree with what you're saying, Manisha. But I have seen Republic TV journalists behaving in a fashion which I'm sure the person at the other end, it took every ounce of patience not to lash out at that person. Physically putting your elbow in the guy while there's this narrow and then saying, look, he's pushing me, look, he's pushing me. Now, I know there are 2 or 3 of such rowdy elements. It's unfortunate that Shivani has to bear the brunt of that. But what happens is that when someone says, kahan ka hai, Republic TV ka hai, acha, he must be one of those same types. Do you get what I'm saying? You kind of, and for that, yes, the leader's completely responsible, because if 3 of your reporters are doing this, aggression, and then pretending
a lot
to
of these reporters, when they chase, for example, the prime perfect example is when Arnab went on in a studio, said, and we confronted Vijay Mallya, and then you see this reporter running after Vijay Mallya shooting questions, and Vijay Mallya is not answering, he doesn't even wait for a pause to see if there's silence or that I will not speak or I don't want to comment to you. He just cuts him off at the question, making this reporter the star of the story, that we asked the questions, and then goes into a tirade that Vijay Mallya running away from us. No, every story is so-and-so's running away from them because they don't really want to do the story or get the facts or give that other person a chance to respond. They just want to make it that Republic is relentless in going after the truth. But if you really wanted the truth, that's not the way to do it.
Okay, so here's what happened in Chennai. This, I think, was deeply problematic. While it seems like a fairly innocuous and small thing, a girl called Lois Sofia, I hope I have pronounced it correctly, she was arrested from Thoothukudi airport, Thoothukudi, I guess, for shouting fascist BJP down down at Tamil Nadu BJP leader Tamilisai Soundarajan. Now, many of you may have seen the video that came with it. This BJP leader, who's the Tamil Nadu head of BJP, apparently is very aggressive. How do you talk to me like that? And it's at the airport. From what we know, she shouted this when the airport had landed, it was on the ground. Airplane had landed, it was on the ground. And many people, including, Shekhar, in fact, the News Minute report names Shekhar. The report is, it's an opinion piece, why Lois Sofia's detractors must look closely at what the aviation law states. Because they said, well, this is a crime. If you've shouted, you will be, these are what the laws state. I think it's a very disingenuous, and this is that monkey balancing people keep trying to do. So I'm not considered left wing. So let me just take up an issue which is not too contentious. Ye kya hai? Ladki hai college ki, to isi at her cost, let me prove my balanced credentials. I think it's deeply problematic. I think it is not just a question of this one arrest. There have been things, and I'm not fooled that this is some aviation law violation, because the News Minute has actually clarified what the law states. You can only jeopardize a flight, when it is taking off, not when you are alighting.
And how does the slogan jeopardize the flight?
Exactly. So
must be a Rafale plane or something.
Must be a Rafale. So
and you can't even impose Section 144. She was
alone.
There
are already people there.
She was alone, and she was just...
I don't know what is she saying that was wrong. Weren't the Maoists caught for anti-fascist attempt? So the government is admitting that they are fascists in any case.
So Madhu, I want your views on this. Do you think this is just an isolated case, or should we read more into it? Am I being paranoid?
No, I think that it's all tying together, isn't it? This is the problem, and which should be of great concern. Shailaja Bajpai has written a piece in today's Indian Express which talks about this, about people being labelled this or that. Somebody is called, now you were called an urban Nakshal by Subramaniam Swami, and you asked why, and he said, you've got a beard and moustache and your hair is curly, so you look like a Nakshal. Now,
Narendra Modi also has beard moustache.
He also has moustache
Narendra
and
Modi?
beard.
Has a beard and moustache. Also.
Exactly, but he's white and
But it's trimmed and
it's
not unruly like
it's not
Abhinandan.
unruly,
It's
and it's
not
not black,
unruly,
and he's not young. Like so. Anyway, whatever the story is, more seriously, that this kind of taking offense, people who take offense feel that they have a right to ask for somebody's arrest, or to shut a place down, or to burn a movie hall down, or to burn the book, or burn the author, or do whatever they like. I think, and we've discussed this before, this taking offense, there should be a ministry of offended sentiments. Please write your complaint there and keep quiet. We're not interested in making a public thing, and then people are then afraid to open their mouths. I think I also read in today's paper, possibly in Indian Express, I can't recall exactly where somebody's written an article, that when you're afraid to say what you think or believe, it does remind you of all the periods of Indian history as well as European history where one was afraid to speak your mind. And I think I don't think it's paranoia. I think it's just snowballing into something a little too big.
But let me come to what happened in the New Yorker festival. So there was the founder of Breitbart. He's a founder of Breitbart, right? And Steve Bannon was the founder of Breitbart, and he was also the chief of the White House, Trump's
election. Not chief, but he was.
No. After that, in office, he was the White House
something or the other.
Media head or whatever that position is. So he was invited for the New Yorker festival, and he was the headline event. That basically a conversation with him. And there was a backlash, and then they cancelled it, and they uninvited him. Meanwhile, The Economist had sent him an invitation for an interview, and they stood by it. And The Economist, in fact, today or yesterday, put out this long note that why they think all sides must be heard. And so the question is, should media engage with racist, bigoted people? If not, can you live in the liberal cocoon, or does one have to engage with everybody, no matter how horrible you find their, positions? So that is an interesting question that has come up. Madhu, why don't you kick this off, and then I'd go around the table to see what everybody's views on this are.
See, the New Yorker editor wrote a really long explanation on why he was disinviting him. And that explanation was, funnily enough, largely devoted to how important it was to invite him. And then in the end, he decided against it. So it's a rather odd letter
Statement
of explanation. The one with The Economist, in which I agree with, which is like, if you're only going to hear people in your echo chamber who agree with you, then there's no point. So The Economist has decided to interview Steve Bannon regardless of any objections. But to just bring up a little tinka over here, I do remember once doing an interview with the Pakistani High Commissioner in Delhi when the rhetoric was really high and people were screaming. It was the time of Kashmir it was on fire, and Benazir Bhutto was saying, "Jag moho ko mohan kar denge." I don't know whatever that means. Jag kar denge. So it was high on rhetoric, and that time I interviewed this fellow, the High Commissioner. And I got a call from my brother, Arun, saying, "Why are you giving these people a platform?" No Indian High Commissioner is ever interviewed on Pakistani channel. So why are you giving him a platform? And I said, look, we have to know how the other side thinks. We have to know what their propaganda is. I am totally against the government banning Pakistani channels, because they think that Pakistani channels will influence the Muslims over here. I don't think so. I think it'll go the other way around. I think hearing the other side, I disagree with the New Yorker, because he said that people felt on the staff that they were going to pay him an honorarium, they were going to pay for his stay over there and his hotel everything, which they were. And whereas The Economist is just doing a straight interview without any payment. Yeah. So there is that difference.
There is a difference. I think, I'll come to that. But Raman sir, what is your view? Does everybody have to be engaged with? In fact,
freedom of expression is universal.
Of course,
it is as important for the right as well as the left.
Sure.
So I think yes.
No, but this is not an assault on anyone's freedom of expression. It is just when you set up a panel of the people who you want talking on your platform, is it important to give everybody a position on that platform, no matter how racist or bigoted their views. Because they're not saying they shouldn't be allowed to talk. It's like, should we, let's say News Laundry has an event. While we have aggressive people like Hartosh Singh Bal there, how aggressive should they be? Should we have a Bhindra wale there?
No, but the point is,
what is the point?
So there are so many people who tweet that I didn't like your bias in this article, I'm never going to subscribe again. So you only want to read or listen to programs or read articles that agree with you, and then you're going to subscribe. I find that really peculiar. Because if I'm going to just read what I already know and agree with, I wouldn't bother to read it. I'd much rather read the other side, because then I can shore up my debate against that.
So this week's song goes out to Vivek Agnihotri in the backdrop of celebrating Article 377. He had become very angry with me and tweeted saying that he's deleted me from his life, but continues to tag me. So it's okay, Vivek. You can come right out and say it now. This song goes out to you.
क्या यही प्यार है हाँ यही प्यार है
पहले मैं समझा मैं नक्सलवादी अरबन हूँ, लेकिन अब जाना तू हेड है और मैं टर्बन हूँ. अब कुछ भी हो तेरे बिना सब्सक्रिप्शन बढ़ता नहीं, दिल तेरे बिन कहीं लगता नहीं, वक्त गुजरता नहीं.
क्या यही प्यार है हाँ यही प्यार है.
सुन लिया अफ्रीका मुफत खोरों. Not to brag or anything, but News Laundry Hafta features in the top 50 in the world on SoundCloud in the news and politics category for podcasts. So do subscribe and see what you're missing, because when the public pays, the public is served. When advertisers pay, advertisers are served. Subscribe, help keep news independent and free. All News Laundry podcasts are available on iTunes and Stitcher and any other podcast platform.